My family built this ranch before your great-great-grandmother was born. 150 years of blood, drought, and dust, and some woman named Claudette Marsh decided she was going to list it for sale. Not buy it. List it. She filed paperwork on land she didn't own, didn't build, and couldn't touch. And the HOA let her do it. But here's what Claudette didn't know. I had a plan, and it started with her own front door. Didn't see that coming? This is your last chance this week. Subscribe now, because these stories only get crazier. Before we continue, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. My name is Reuben Calloway, and I am the 5th generation to live on the Calloway Ranch. Not a farm, not a hobby property. A working cattle ranch planted in the Texas Hill Country in 1874 by my great-great-great-grandfather Elias Calloway, who broke the ground with a hand plow and a mule named Sunday. Every fence post, every water line, every acre of that land carries a name, a memory, a scar. I tell you that so you understand what was at stake when I say this wasn't a property dispute. This was a war. We'd been annexed into Ridgemont Estates HOA about 4 years prior, something the county pushed through without much fanfare. Our ranch sat at the edge of their development, and at first it didn't matter. We got a newsletter every month. Some rules about fence colors. Fine. But then Claudette Marsh moved in 2 lots down, got herself appointed to the HOA Architectural Review Board, and suddenly everything changed. It started small. A violation notice about our weather vane, then one about the horse trailer being visible from the road, then a noise complaint about roosters. On a cattle ranch, I called the HOA office, and a very tired-sounding woman told me, and I quote, "Mrs. Marsh feels the aesthetic is inconsistent with Ridgemont standards." I should have known then. But I didn't act fast enough. One Tuesday morning in March, my neighbor Dex Pruitt called me while I was mending fence on the south pasture. His voice was strange, quiet. "Reuben," he said, "you need to pull up Zillow. Right now." I pulled it up. The Calloway Ranch, all 340 acres of it, was listed for sale at $2.1 million. The listing had photographs, drone shots, a description that called it a rare investment opportunity in the growing Ridgemont corridor. I had not listed my ranch. I had not authorized a listing. I had not spoken to a single realtor. My hands stopped working. I just stood there in the pasture, phone in my hand, cattle moving behind me, and I felt something cold crawl up my spine that had nothing to do with the wind. I called my attorney, Priscilla Vane, within the hour. She told me to document everything and not to confront anyone yet. I lasted about 45 minutes before I drove straight to Claudette Marsh's house. She answered the door in a white linen blouse, holding a glass of iced tea like she'd been expecting a guest. "Reuben," she said warmly, too warmly. "You listed my ranch," I said. She tilted her head. "The HOA has the authority to flag non-compliant properties for community review. It's in the covenant, Section 14. That is not a real estate listing, Claudette." She smiled. "It is when the board votes to pursue remediation through market correction." I didn't understand half of what she said, but I understood the smile. And I drove home and called Priscilla back and told her to dig into everything. Here is where the first twist lands, and it hit me like a fence post to the chest. Priscilla called me back 2 days later. Claudette Marsh wasn't just on the Architectural Review Board. She had quietly gotten herself appointed as acting treasurer and interim board president after the previous president moved out in January. She had then used that combined authority to push through an emergency covenant amendment, one that allowed the board to list non-conforming legacy properties on the open market if they received 3 violation notices within a 12-month period. Our weather vane, our horse trailer, our roosters. She had engineered every single violation. She had written the amendment. She had cast the deciding vote, and she had listed my family's ranch, land that predated her family's existence in this state by over a century, as if it were a distressed asset she could flip. I sat with that information for a long time. And then I got very, very calm. Because here is what Claudette Marsh did not know about me. Before I came back to run the ranch, I spent 11 years as a title examiner for a real estate law firm in Austin. I know how property records work. I know how easements work. I know how access rights work. And I started pulling records on every parcel within a half-mile of her house. It took me 6 days. 6 days of county records, plat maps, and deed abstracts going back to 1961. And on the 6th day, I found it. Claudette's property sat at the end of a private cul-de-sac. Her driveway connected to the main road through a strip of land, a narrow corridor about 30 feet wide that had been granted as a shared easement in 1987. That easement was attached not to her lot, but to the adjacent parcel next door. Parcel 118C, a vacant lot sitting empty, owned by a retired couple in Scottsdale, Arizona who hadn't visited in 9 years and had been paying taxes on it out of habit. I called them on a Wednesday. We had a deal by Friday. I paid $47,000 cash for parcel 118C. Now I owned the land that Claudette's easement ran through. And under Texas property law, I had every right to review, modify, or terminate that easement with proper legal notice and a waiting period. Priscilla sent the notice on a Monday morning. Certified mail. Return receipt requested. I know the exact moment Claudette got it, because she called me 40 minutes later and she was not using her iced tea voice anymore. "You cannot do this," she said. "It's in the deed records, Claudette. Section 4 of the 1987 easement agreement. The servient estate owner may terminate upon 60 days written notice." Silence. "You will not have driveway access after July 9th, I said. "But I want you to know, I'm a reasonable man. I'd be willing to discuss a long-term access agreement. Maybe we start by having the HOA delist my ranch." The emergency board meeting happened that Thursday. I attended. Claudette walked in looking like she hadn't slept. 3 other board members who apparently had no idea what she'd done sat there with their arms crossed, staring at their table. The motion to delist the Callaway Ranch passed 5-0. Claudette resigned from the board 11 days later. Officially, it was to pursue personal projects. Nobody at the meeting believed that. The listing came down, the violations were expunged, and I recorded a permanent access easement on parcel 118C, available to Claudette's property in perpetuity, at no cost, because I am not her. I don't punish people for sport. But I did keep the parcel. It's good land. I'm thinking about expanding the south pasture fence line. The Callaway Ranch is still standing, 152 years old now, and not going anywhere. My great-great-great-grandfather broke that ground with a hand plow and a mule named Sunday. Claudette Marsh came at it with a covenant amendment and a Zillow listing. She forgot something important. So did a lot of people who underestimate ranchers. We are very, very patient. And we never sell. If this story hit different, subscribe, because next week's story makes this one look like a noise complaint.